Welcome to First Look. Today we're going to be giving you a sneak peek at an upcoming game from Floodgate Games. This one is called Bosk. It's from designers Daryl Andrews and Erica Boyoris.
Yeah, this is a 2 to 4 player game that has some area control, but as you can see here is an incredible table presence. It's got these beautiful trees, 4 different species in fact, and this is all about planting those trees and then letting the leaves blow where they may, but hopefully trying to control that as much as possible.
So we're going to be playing the game over 4 seasons. These seasons represent spring, summer, autumn, and then winter. 2 of these seasons are actually taking actions on the board, while the other 2 seasons are scoring for those actions that you take.
Yeah, in the first season, the board's going to be empty, and this is the spring. You're going to be planting these trees. Everyone's going to start with the same number of trees, and they all have numbers on them, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and you'll have 2 of each of those. You're going to be placing these on these intersections of these rows and columns with some strategy in mind as to where you want your leaves to ultimately blow, because that's how you're really going to score some points. But you are also going to score some points after everyone's planted their trees just from how you've planted them.
Yeah, so these lines on the board are actually called trails, and you're going to be scoring for the rows and the columns in which your trees have majority of during the summer phase of the game. So where you plant these is obviously very important for scoring, but it also is going to feed into the autumn, which is the main phase within the game.
Yeah, autumn is where most of the action takes place. There's going to be scoring, so the interesting thing, when you score in the summer, you're going to be planting trees and kind of maybe wanting to get some points there, but also really trying to place the trees so that you can get as many leaves wherever you want them. And the way that works is everyone has these leaf tokens, and these are numbered 2 through 8, plus 1 that has a squirrel on it. We'll get to that in a second. Everyone's going to be placing those face down in front of them, flipping them over, and this dictates how many leaves can fall from a tree. The other cool thing about the autumn phase is this right here. Whoever scores the least points in the summer phase after the planting gets to control what side of the board this goes on. And this, as you can see, is going to dictate the direction of the wind, and obviously going to be impacted about where you place it, and the number of tree that is going to drop leaves. So for instance, the first trees that's going to drop are the 1 trees. So you have 2 options. You have 2 1 trees at the beginning, and then that's of course going to dwindle here in the second phase. You're going to have to go through those trees however you want. But these leaves are going to fall, and you're going to lay them from the base of the tree in the direction of the wind and according to the number that you used. So for instance, if I use this, I get to drop 4 leaves, and of course if someone had dropped 1 already, I can cover it up with my leaf. That's where the area control comes in.
One of the cool things too is when you're placing these leaves, you're actually going to pull that tree off of the board at the end of doing so. The board becomes less cluttered and starts filling the board out with the leaves. Now the leaves are there to score the area control, as you mentioned, during the winter phase of the game. You're going to notice that the board has a number of different areas on the board that are color coded. Each of these areas is going to score according to the player that has the most leaves of their color in those areas. Now, when you're blowing these leaves around, you can also place them on top of other players' leaves, which is really cool, meaning that it's very important when you use the right tree and the way that those leaves blow when you use them.
Yeah, all those things become clear after you've played this game once, twice, and maybe even 3 times, because when you really get a grasp for the scoring in the first phase and then the scoring with the leaves, you really start to understand strategically how you might want to place your trees, especially according to how everyone else around the table is also placing them.
Not to mention, on the other side of this board, there are larger hexes for playing a 2-player game, so you have a little bit more room to maneuver.
You know, and we'd be remiss without saying something about the squirrel. The squirrel is, like I said, one of those leaf tokens that you have. Instead of the 1, you have the squirrel. When you do that, you're not dropping any leaves, you're simply taking the squirrel, and according to the wind again, you're going to place a squirrel on the board. No one can mess with the squirrel space. And in fact, if you're fighting over a space with someone with their leaves and then yours and then theirs, you can put the squirrel on top of that stack and declare that space for yours for sure.
So this one is called Bosk. It's from Floodgate Games. It is a 2 to 4 player game, area control. If you guys have any question, make them in the comments below, and we'll check you guys out next time.
Bye-bye.